So after 14 long-ass years after The Devil's Rejects, and yes, that will play a crucial part in this review of why this movie pissed me off, Rob Zombie decided to open up the Firefly clan. It decided to continue that storyline with the Firefly clan. So in 2019, Three from Hell shined. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my Rob Zombie film series review. Well, I got one left after this, and followed by a ranking, so thank you so much, guys, for clicking this. I really appreciate it, and sticking with me here. After escaping prison, the Firefly clan is on the run once again as they attempt to run to Mexico to lay low for a while from the law. So at the time of this film's release, I was not expecting at all of this, even being discussed. Because after the way Devil's Rejects ended, that awesome fire shootout scene, how the hell could you resurrect these characters? Not unless they were supernatural, which at one point I think I remember them discussing some supernatural element to this as the reason why they were able to actually survive that gunfight scenario at the end of Devil's Rejects. But that wasn't the case. So yeah, I was confused. I was utterly confused on how Rob Zombie was able to actually continue this storyline with this family. It somewhat intrigued me, I do admit. But to be honest, and I'll get into more details in this here in a little while, it really should have ended with Devil's Rejects. It really should have. So I kept up with Three from Hell when I could, looking at news articles and what possible plot line was going to come out on this. So I saw it. Was it worth the 14 years that it took for them to make this? Starting off with the positives for Three from Hell. I think it was a good intention. Now, not to sound contradicting or sound like a hypocrite, but I do feel like Rob Zombie did have some good intentions with the film. I like that Rob Zombie was able to figure out a way to bring this family back from the brink of death at the end of Rejects, as impossible as a scenario as that would be in real life, especially after the way that played out. I still didn't mind it. It's Hollywood. You can do anything. I liked the gumption. I felt like the film had some cool ideas for a continuation. From Rejects. Some things that happened, there's a downfall to that, but we'll get to that later. But compared to Rob Zombie's last film, 31, this one was a little bit more tolerable. I bitched and griped on length on how bad the dialogue was in 31 and how just unwatchable and how you felt like you needed to take a shower right afterward. That's how bad it was. Although I did like some of the brutal kills in it, Three from Hell, it just seemed more watchable. And I could get through it a lot better than I could with 31. It wasn't as hardcore. It wasn't as rough to get through. And I'd say Three from Hell was at about the level as Rob Zombie's earlier films, minus House. But I'd say the dialogue and just the all-out nature to Three from Hell was more like the ones he came out with before 31. He dialed it back a lot from 31. He dialed all that back to a 10 plus from 31, from how 31 was. And you get the Three from Hell trio. In other words, they still refer to them as the Devil's Rejects in this. Bill Moseley returns as Otis Driftwood. Compared to the Devil's Rejects, he has more of a screw the man attitude in this. They gave him an extra trait to him that was actually pretty interesting. And it's awesome. In preparation for this review, I was looking on YouTube for clips to put in this review, and I came across an interesting interview from Bill Moseley on how he got cast as Otis back in 1999. He was at an awards ceremony dressed as Chop Top from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And Rob Zombie just happened to be there, and because Rob Zombie is such a big fan of the Chop Top character, he really did like Bill Moseley from the start. So weeks later, Bill Moseley got a call from Rob Zombie's manager And he was hired there on the spot. He didn't even have to audition or anything. So that was a lucky break. In a way, Chop Top, opened up a lot of prosperities for Bill Moseley. And I thought that was pretty interesting. If you're interested in seeing the interview or the video that Bill Moseley made, it's down in the description below. But in preparation for this review, I'm glad I came across that video. So I thought that was a pretty interesting bit of side note there. But yeah, like I said, for Otis in Three from Hell, they gave him more of a rebellious, screw the man attitude, which really added to the flavor of what this character already was. And he was just one of those conspiracy theorists, and he just has that attitude about him that just really adds and piles onto the character in a really good way. He was awesome in The Devil's Rejects, but they just gave him that extra spice to his character for Three from Hell.
Hello, America. Did you miss me? I am Satan's destroyer. I am the eternal flame of salvation burning through your life, your liberty, and your pursuit of fucking happiness. I suggest you get ready to burn, motherfucker.
And you get Sharon Moon's character who returns as baby Firefly. I think there was a time jump. It doesn't really specify, but after they survive that conundrum at the end of Rejects, they get sent to prison after they miraculously survive. And I think there was a time jump. Again, they don't really confirm that. But that would be the only plausible explanation as to why Sharon Moon's character, they sort of gave her more of a crazy trait. And you can tell a big difference from Rejects on how much she's changed from that film to Three from Hell. They even actually confirm by having the Otis character say that she's changed. And she just got this whole different persona about her, not in a bad way. But she just has this whole persona about her to where she's really changed from Rejects. And you can tell there's a big difference there. To the point to where you actually see what kind of psychological traits this woman has been dealt. And again, I think there was a time jump, and that would be the only plausible explanation as to why she is the way she is compared to Devil's Rejects. Like, she has this whole kitty montage thing to where she's in her prison cell, and she looks in the next cell beside her, and she starts having these delusions, and just the way she plays it off. It was good, but it was way different from Rejects. In Rejects, it seemed like she had more of her coconuts in order, but in this, it just seems like her marbles is a little loose, a little loose around the edge. But again, they clearly address that, and they clearly make this character known that that's the type of character that they decided to change her into. And it was pretty good. And you got Richard Brake that returns from 31. And as much as I liked that character from 31, he did a pretty good job in this. He was sort of like the replacement for Sid Haig's character, which I'll get into that here momentarily as well. But he did a pretty good job. He doesn't play as sinister as a character as he did Doomhead in 31, but it still made sense that he was a part of the Firefly trio. He was still pretty sinister. He was still pretty evil in this. And again, he's just one of those actors, like I said about my review in 31. He's just one of those actors that I started noticing right off the bat after 31. The new character that he played in Three from Hell, supposedly he was like a distant cousin relative of Otis. And he's the one that breaks them out, or breaks Otis out anyway at the beginning of this film. And he just plays it with such gumption and just such, cynicism. I'm sorry, I can never say that word right. I apologize, but he just plays it like that. And he did a pretty good job in this movie. I like this actor. I really do like this actor. And I thought he was a pretty good candidate for this film. And you even get better lighting. There's a lot better shots and a lot better cinematography work for this film compared to 31. Definitely was better in this. You got perfect contrast, perfect coloring, better in every way compared to the last one. All the different textures and just the shots. You don't get any of these dumbass scenes where it's just so flashy, it just makes you have a headache, which I actually did get a headache shortly after I did the review for 31, no lie. But for 3 from Hell, it was a lot better. It was done so much better. And like I said before, it's more basic for 3 from Hell. You know, minus House, this just felt so much like the ones in between before 31, to where it felt more like what you're used to from a zombie movie, and it just didn't go too hardcore like he did in 31. He let all the bats swing in that one. But for 3 from Hell, it was more tolerable, and it was just more basic, and it felt like the ones he did in between House and 31. It just felt better, it felt right. And this being a sequel to The Devil's Rejects, it just made sense. And I like that whole third act scenario where you got this cartel leader. Once the Firefly clan gets to Mexico, then you have this whole side plot to where it actually deals with the Danny Trejo character, who's actually one of the bounty hunters in Devil's Rejects, to where you only see him at the beginning of this film, Danny Trejo's character. And he's killed off once they do the prison break for Otis. Otis kills him. And then you have this whole scenario where the cartel leader was the son of this guy. And you have that whole revenge side where the cartel leader riles up his gang and says, we're going to go after these mofos and we're going to kill him for what he did to my pops. I like that whole thing. And because of that, the whole third act, the final act, the showdown, you get plenty of shoot 'em ups and you get plenty of action. Not like you get explosions. This isn't like nowhere near Michael Bay type. It's a Rob Zombie movie, no offense. But you get like plenty of shoot 'em ups. And there's plenty of, now I was going to put this in the mixed or the negatives, but the more I think of it, there was a lot of these slow motion shots, which you do see a lot of titties and naked ladies, especially in these scenarios. And it might be like exciting to any 14-year-old boy, but I'm just looking at this in a professional stance. But like those slow motion shots where Sheri Moon's character would have that bow and arrow. She has this Comanche hat and this bow and arrow where she keeps on shooting the arrows at these bad guys, and you could see it like slow motion. A lot of that was digital effects, and it didn't really look all that bad. At least they didn't use any like digital effects blood. That looks cheesy, but you don't get that here. But like I said, with the gunshots, shoot 'em up scenes, and where these cartel guys was trying to come after this family, and that was actually pretty cool. I like that. It gave it more of an action sense compared to The Devil's Rejects. Not that I'm down in that film. That one was awesome, especially compared to 3 from Hell. But still, I'm just saying, that whole shoot 'em up scene in the final act of 3 from Hell, it was actually pretty good. It gave the movie more of a boost. I wouldn't call it epic, but for a movie of this stature, it was pretty cool. Now that that's said and done, time to get real here as I delve into my negatives. Alright, going back to what I said about the good intentions at the beginning of this review, yes, it did have good intentions. Not to make myself sound like a hypocrite or contradict myself, I just felt like the film didn't quite live up, especially compared to Rejects. It just felt like something that really didn't need to exist because of the climax for Rejects. And at the time when Rejects was filmed, I'm pretty sure Rob Zombie didn't even have it in his mind to ever come back to this series. Because the way Rejects ended, you would have thought that a third one would never exist because of that scene alone. I still feel that way. I just don't feel like 3 from Hell should have existed at all. I mean, as much as I enjoyed like certain aspects of the movie, I didn't really feel it necessary to even exist because of the awesome way Rejects played out. There just wasn't really no need for a third film. Devil's Rejects should have been it. That really should have been the final nail in the coffin. Ergo, it just made 3 from Hell kind of pointless and moot. It just really didn't have that much merits to it. And to be honest, you could just pretty much set this one aside. Compared to Rejects, you could just pretty much put 3 from Hell out of your mind and just, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Because the story felt too much like a rehash of what Rejects have already said. Only in Rejects, it was more epic. It was more memorable. 3 from Hell just felt like a kind of a reboot than anything else. You got the whole scene at the house where Otis and Richard Brake's character break in, and it's supposedly the warden's house. You got that whole scene. You can kind of compare it to the hotel scene in Rejects. And then you got the whole thing to where they're running from the law once again, just like they did in Rejects. So in a way, it just felt too rebootish than anything else. It's just something you've already seen before. It doesn't really give you that much excitement, and it just, you've seen it before, and that's exactly how you'll feel once you pop Three from Hell in. It just, like a kind of a poorer version, poorer quality of Rejects. And like I say, at least with Rejects, it was more engaging, it was more interesting, I'll go ahead and say it was more epic. Again, Three from Hell just felt more of like a remake than a sequel than anything else.
So I'm free to go? Yeah. Straight to clown heaven.
Plus, the 14-year timestamp did not help at all. Now, I'm not sure how long this movie was actually discussed being made. I know it takes a while in Hollywood for certain projects to be made, and sometimes they never get made. But I just felt like it was just too long. I swear, Jackasses goes faster than that, and Snails. It just played a major downplay, a major downfall in the way that this film could have been presented and could have felt. The piece de resistance of why this movie pissed me off is because of Sid Haig's passing. Now, I get it. The Grim Reaper eventually visits all of us. I get it. But because of the way that they waited so long in this, instead of, making Lords of Salem or 31, they could have very easily made this movie back then and still had Sid Haig in it. Sid Haig has been sick for a while up to his passing. But I just felt like, because of that, they had to rewrite the script and figure out a way to write the Captain Spaulding character out. And, I've spoken on length on how much this character was my favorite of the first two. And whenever I found out that he passed away and they had to rewrite the Three from Hell script, and just the thought of not having him in this, it kind of devastated me. At least they were able to film one scene at the beginning to where he's doing an interview at his prison before they wrote him off, and you could tell he was not well. Compared to House of Thousand Corpses and Rejects, you could tell that Sid Haig's health was not good at all, and it really does show.
I am what they make me. I'm your bozo Jesus hung out to dry for the sins of mankind. Oh, fuck. All hail the man behind the grease paint.
It's sad. It's sad knowing the way it turned out, but, it is what it is, and I just felt like if they'd have made this movie a little sooner and actually had him in it, and, Richard Brake as well. I'm not down on Richard Brake. He was a good replacement for Sid Haig. I'm just saying, if they'd have just made this sooner and have both of them in it, Richard Brake and Sid Haig, that would have been epic. I do believe that this movie would have been a little more tolerable, a little more watchable, and I would have liked it just a little bit, probably about the same level as I did Rejects. But again, it is what it is. But I blame the timestamp on how long Hollywood goes and how they drag their ass sometimes, and it just... Again, it is what it is. I just felt like it could have made a difference. In the end, guys, I thought the movie was fine. I just didn't really feel like the film was all that necessary in the long run. I felt on the fence. So, Three from Hell, was this your favorite Rob Zombie movie? Did this hold any merits of enjoyment? Did you enjoy seeing the return of the Firefly clan back in action again? Or was this not for you? Was this a missed opportunity? Leave me your comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, and share the big four. And be sure to click that bell icon so you don't miss a thing. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.